All right, good morning, YouTube, and welcome to Business Express. Let's get straight in. Smooth 98.1. Welcome to Business Express for a Thursday morning, brought to you by Stanbic IBTC. I'm Sope Martins. This is Smooth Breakfast, and of course, joining me is Rotus. Good morning.
Good morning, Sope. Good morning to all our listeners out there. Good to be with you all. Good morning to our special guest from Stanbic.
Yes. Peter Abbey, who's Equities Trader at Stanbic IBTC Stockbrokers. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic to have you on the show. So today we've got some pretty interesting news, because now it seems like we've got the airlines that are going to be, some airlines that are going to be conducting business in USD. But before we get into the details of that, let me tell you how you can join the conversation. All you need to do, hashtag Business Express 981 on Twitter and tag us at Rotanquote at Smooth981FM as well. You can go over to YouTube, leave a comment on the live stream on youtube.com/Smooth981FM Lagos. And of course, WhatsApp is available. The number to send your messages to is 0809 440 981. So, gentlemen, what is this? What is going on with the airlines?
Yeah, so it's very interesting development. But actually, before I begin, yesterday we're going over that LinkedIn top places to work in Nigeria.
Yes, we were.
Stanbic IBTC was number 3. So, hey, Peter, I guess you're enjoying yourself. Top 3 places to work in Nigeria. So shout out to Stanbic. What's the name of these? Lists, or rather, the airline group that is pushing this in attempts to try to get liquidity in USD. It's the APG Interline Electronic Ticketing Agreements group or so. That airlines and there, some of them will start selling tickets for foreign airlines in USD. Apparently, April the 19th is when it's begin. Because apparently, I don't know, it's $283 million or so is still trapped in Nigeria. Peter, what do you make of this development?
The reality of it is the modality are still on ground. How to outflow or to send the money out is still a question, except they want to do it, of course, outside the country, which I'm not sure that will sit very well with CBN, because taxes and all of those things still have to be charged on them. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm sure the modalities will be very known, especially from the regulator side. That will be known shortly.
Isn't this FX issue also what's impacting the NGX with the low number of foreign investors that we're seeing?
Well, partially, yes. Don't let us forget that most of the illiquidity, especially we saw that increased 2020 when COVID came in, and then many of these foreign investors had to run for safety. So it's partially a reason, but I mean, going beyond that, the recovery is still, we are still in the recovery mode. So that may also be another concern for them, that's looking at the recovery, how that is going to span out. But I agree with you, it's still a concern. The liquidity is still a concern.
All right. Well, speaking of the stock exchange, we've had, I think, 3 or 4 days of gains on the market. I think it was up by 0.34 so yesterday. What's been the driver for the gains we've seen on the markets?
Basically, the banks. We've been seeing interest, renewed interest in banks. A lot of them, if you look at them, like names like GTCO, Zenith, UBA, they were marked down, and marked down for dividend, and they went as low below their markdown price. So I wouldn't be surprised that people saw interest in them again. And also, don't forget, most of the investors that received their dividend last week, especially, most of these names, they received their dividend. So it may be a reason while maybe some investors are reinvesting their dividend. There may also be a reason for the positive sentiments. But MTN is also another name that we've been seeing good interest there. Even after they went ex-div, interest continued there. We saw the news, Airtel and MTN, the news on their like MTN released that they now have the full license to go as PSB. So all of these things are factors driving the interest in some of these things. Well, banks and telco, those are the two sectors that have been seeing interest.
So can the positive sentiment be maintained?
Well, the answer is yes, because when we look at where these companies are trading, especially their fundamentals, they are quite low. But of course, beyond the fundamentals, we have the economy to be concerned about, and some other issues around politics and the likes. Yeah.
Exactly. Politics will always come up. Okay, you've mentioned telcos, you've mentioned banks. If I was to ask you what sectors look promising, I mean, I'm guessing would you include them, and what other sectors on the exchange look good?
Well, I mentioned banks, especially some quality names, and also telco. And industrial is also another sector that we like, considering the fact that the recovery is ongoing, and a lot of infrastructure needs still there in the country. So it's also another sector. Consumer, where I will maybe be silent about consumer, but of course, looking at the, we still have to, consume anyway, still have to heat and do all of those stuff. So, well, we should just be on the background for me, but those three sectors will come first, then consumer will come last.
Speaking of sectors, consumer goods just reminded me about inflation, and that also reminded me, because we're supposed to get inflation figures, I think, next week. And I just remembered, tragically, we lost Dr. Simon Harry, who is the Statistician General of the Bureau of Statistics. He was appointed last year, took over from Dr. Yemi Kali. And I don't know whether he had an illness or something, but he passed away yesterday, so may he rest in peace. But I bring that up because we are getting inflation figures hopefully next week for the month of March. Is that a headwind for stocks? What headwinds do you see for the exchange?
Well, it's been a muted reaction, if you ask me, especially looking at the purchasing power that consumers have. That's why I said, if we look at consumer space, is something that, even though we still have to consume, we still have to spend money, we still have to maintain our life, but inflation, like you mentioned, is still a concern. The last figure was, I think, was probably
15.7, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I'm not sure it's something significant will happen this period for the month of March. So it will still be a bit muted. The reaction will be quite low from the consumer space. But I mean, in terms of banking, they still have to keep lending. The telco will have to keep spending on that side. So I feel at the end of the day, it will be a muted reaction. Consumer will lag behind, and the others will have the upside.
Okay. Any other headwinds beyond, like, it's a pre-election year? We've seen all the interesting events that have been going on. This person's declaring, that person, back and forth, zoning, all this talk. Do you see any, investors pulling back, or in any way electoral activity having weighing on the market in any way, shape, or form?
We have the opinion that electoral process and stuff like that, most of the investors, they are used to all this process, and imagining that's how far we have gone, and I mean, how far can we go, or maybe lower? So the expectation of investors will be to have a politician or someone in power that will be pro-economy, and that would be of benefit. So everybody is looking out, and I believe that would be a good a concern, or something that will make investors happy when we have someone that is pro-market.
All right, now before we get to more questions, we actually have questions in from listeners. So this one in Benga Akoma has actually sent in about a couple of things. First, about the airlines, saying, should the government allow airlines to charge for their service in dollars? Because he says, I believe that is not good for our economy. And we also have this one in from Onyinye, who says, this new approach in the aviation sector will heighten the pressure in the forex markets. Beyond fortnightly retail auctions, the CBN needs to come up with tailor-made create forex products to support the aviation industry and clear out the forex backlog. This is quite worrisome. So that's on aviation, and we have some in on the stock markets. Benga is saying, what factors drive the stock market down in Nigeria? Does and are inflation figures from the government not muted? He goes on to say the price of goods tell us, or the prices of goods tell us where inflation is at. Let's see. Gilbert Musa from Festac says, I'm not comfortable with the financial status granted to MTN by the CBN recently. Reason, in 2011, CBN prevented banks from running insurance companies and asked them to focus solely on banking. So I'm not clear on them not focusing entirely on telecoms operations now.
Very interesting comments. Very, very interesting. Well, Peter, you already talked about, to Benga Kamu's points about inflation. You kind of, do you want to repeat your point? I mean, you already mentioned that earlier, right?
If I want to comment on what he said, especially on the banks, if you look at the reason for even the banks, I mean, they're now allowed to have a holdco structure. We've seen a lot of banks taking that structure now, Access, GTCO. So that's they're allowing them now. And even the telco being allowed to have a license is just to ensure what we call financial inclusion. So that, I mean, the penetration will be far deeper than what the banks have at the moment. So I think it's a bit justified for them to have that license.
Very quickly, I don't know, sometimes we see sell pressure before public holidays. Maybe investors want to liquidate and go and spend some money. Today is the last trading day before the public holiday tomorrow. Markets won't open again until I think Tuesday. If you can look into your crystal ball, how do you think the markets will trade today before the Easter holidays?
Well, I would rather say we may not see that trend this year. I mean, maybe my opinion. Okay. We have all our brothers and sisters fasting. So where are we going to? Well, it's just my personal opinion, actually. So it may not be. I mean, what we used to, you know. So it will be trade as usual. If not, even it may be lower. I mean, in my own opinion, people just want to go on holiday and just go and rest. I mean, yeah.
All right. That is that. We don't have any more time, but Peter Abbey, it's been fantastic having you on the show. So that's Peter Abbey, who's an equities trader with Stanbic IBTC Stockbrokers. And is there a means of contact either on social media, maybe email, for anybody who's interested in what we talked about?
Yeah, call me at stanbicibtc.com. Call me stanbicibtc.com. That's the email to send in.
Perfect. Call me at stanbicibtc.com. And of course, call Rotus on Twitter at Rotan Quotes. That's him. And we are at Smooth981FM on Twitter. You can always catch this replay on youtube.com/Smooth981FM. If you need the link, well, I've given it to you, but you can also check it out on our Twitter handle on our feed. Okay, Rotus, Peter, it's been fun. It's been very interesting. Rotus, I'll see you tomorrow for Tech Friday, Peter.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.